Good morning, Bear Nation. Welcome. Thank you for being here. 102,000 of you. If you're new to the channel, please like, subscribe, and share. If you're lurking in the shadows, stop it. It's gross. It's very creeper of you. Don't do that. Like, subscribe, share. Click the little bell icon. That way YouTube will pretend to enlighten you as to when we go live and post new content. If you're on Patreon, you get a Patreon post every morning when we go live so that you do not miss it. In addition to that, you get exclusive Patreon content every day of the week other than Shabbat. So feel free to check us out on Patreon as well, which is where the entirety of this substantial report today exists. And as always, shout out to the dance monkeys, especially the head dance monkey in charge at intel@bearindependent.com. So if you're wondering where you send your actionable intelligence, you send it to intel@bearindependent.com. Intel is what? Both independently verifiable and actionable. So if you saw a post on Facebook that you thought was really compelling, it's not intel. Okay? Good morning, Derek. But your actionable intel goes to intel@bearindependent.com. We all gonna die Wednesday. Here it be. Current issues. Today we're talking about disaster and potentially the forecasted disaster of a nation. We'll see. My second favorite group therapy. I like that. 14 October 2020. The amount of natural disasters has doubled in the last 2 decades, and the sheer amount experienced this year alone has been notable for all the wrong reasons. So far, the weather events of 2020 have equated to $16 billion of damage in the United States alone, including 11 severe storms which occurred in over 30 states, 3 tropical cyclones, a drought, and a wildfire. Drought has affected 42.6% of the contiguous United States. According to the U.S. Drought Monitor Report, with drought conditions expanding or intensifying in both the western half of the lower 48 and the Northeast. While the natural aspect of the sheer scope of the wildfires on the West Coast is in question after discoveries of arson, myriad discoveries of arson, the effect on residents is the same. Satellite imagery has shown a massive smoke shrouding much of the coast and billowing westwards toward the sea. Farmers report that ash has been falling on their fields for weeks. While many produce items can be washed, concerns of chemical contamination remain as labs that could test produce are backlogged with requests. Additionally, smoke damage can ruin crops, like wine and cannabis. While wine and cannabis are not exactly destined for survival rations, such issues still have ripple effects throughout business and supply chains, which have already been hit by wave after wave of unprecedented challenges this year. So let's take this kind of line by line. Natural disasters have doubled in the last 2 decades. And the sheer amount experienced this year alone has been notable for all the wrong reasons. Agreed. Now we know on the West Coast, the left coast, that a lot of the natural wildfires are not natural at all. That this is part of an ongoing plot by Antifa, the Black Lives Matter, the useful idiots of the color revolution that's taking place right now, to essentially continue to create chaos and strife. We know that this is the case, and we know that it's part of the Hegelian dialectic that they are employing to usher in the Great Reset, right? Chaos. They're cool with chaos because chaos allows them to use a big fist to arrest the chaos, literally and figuratively arrest the chaos. Keep it up, mate. You'll catch a hollow point. I'm in a shooty mood this morning. We're already down 1 rooster. Don't tell my wife. So, that being said, I do believe that we are witnessing and experiencing the ramifications of a weakening sun, solar cycles, okay? we've talked about, is 2020 the beginning of tribulation? Are we legitimately in end times, or are we experiencing a convergence of cycles that mimic what we see in Matthew 24, that mimic what we see in the book of Revelation and Mark 15? Is this the real deal, or is this just a convergence of cycles that mimics the real deal? So my benchmark here is the two witnesses. Two witnesses start preaching uninterrupted from the Temple Mount. Then I'll go, yep, there's Moshe and Eliyahu, Moses and Elijah spitting fire from the Temple Mount. Copy that. And many would say, oh, don't you mean Moses and Enoch? Well, maybe, but we do know in the Mount of Transfiguration that Yeshua, Jesus, is comforted by Moses and Elijah. And we do know that when Messiah is raised from the dead, the tomb is found empty, that there's two witnesses, two angels outside of the tomb. I believe that was Moshe and Eliyahu, and I think when he comes back, we'll see Moshe and Eliyahu. But that's just my opinion. That's not biblical fact. However, I'm digressing all over the place here. These cycles, these solar cycles, as well as these empiric cycles, decline of empires, could very much so mimic Matthew 24 and the book of Revelation. Which, getting back to yesterday, we talked very, very, very briefly about the concept of the rapture, which is found, or not found rather, in the book of Revelation. And I just wanted to add this caveat from yesterday's conversation. Please understand that the assembly that I attend, with the intention of studying the book of Revelation word for word, which we just recently completed, read all of the Gospel of John, then 1 John, 2 John, and 3 John, just to be familiar with the Gospel of John and the way that John writes, and then read Matthew 24 as part of our homework before we got into the book of Revelation, and then read Mark 15 because it mimics Matthew 24, and then got into the book of Revelation word for word. So with that, I would just add, with as much love and compassion as I can muster for those who have not examined the Bible, the scriptures word for word, that please read all that in context before you predicate your existence during end times on a man-made doctrine. Copy? Copy. Now, moving right along into drought, getting back to solar cycles, I think we're going to see traditional bread baskets coming offline and ancient bread baskets coming back online. This is something that David Dubine from Adapt 2030 has talked quite a bit about, and I think he's right on point with that. And so I would look for more drought to occur in the United States of America in places where you wouldn't necessarily look to see it, and areas where, like Arizona, for example, there are large swaths of Arizona that are now becoming, yeah, bulldozer, you got it, that are now becoming just absolutely lush, beautiful areas that are coming online as grow regions. Now, I find it interesting. I did a bit of research about this this morning. The dog started arfing at some time this morning, so I got up and played the patrol the perimeter game with the rifle, and literally the moment the dog stopped, the rooster started. That was at 4:44 this morning for those who are playing along in the home game. And so I started peeling through the report and doing my own research this morning. There are a lot of people who are incredibly concerned about the wine and cannabis industries with these fires that are going on. I am not terribly concerned about the wine or the cannabis industry because I don't consume cannabis and I barely consume wine. However, I understand the economic implications of both of those industries suffering greatly. And they're both industries that depend highly on atmospheric conditions. Okay, it's not just that, well, corn obviously is dependent upon atmospheric conditions. It needs sunlight and soil and water. But the The floral tones of the sweet corn this year are less dependent upon the, how much ash is in the air. The cannabinoids that are in the sweet peas that we're trying to grow don't care, okay? So, however, the wine and the cannabis people are apparently pretty damn nervous about what's going on because of the ash and the heavy metals. And cannabis farmers, as much as a couple 100 miles away from these fires. Jay Johns, good morning. Yeah, this porch is missing you, brother. All of our brothers who spent time and sisters who spent time here recently, the porch misses you. The porch owner misses you as well. What's that? Yeah. Miss Liz says she misses your food as well. So, now, some of these cannabis farmers are having their crops destroyed up to 200 miles away. Pet my dog, I will. And it's a major, major issue. They're losing their crops as far as 200 miles away because of the smoke. The smoke is killing the crop or making the crop unsaleable. Is that a word? Can't bring it to market. So, I must say all of these things are not my primary area of expertise or primary concern, but again, I can see the effects that this is going to have on the economy. Now, what about like things that we can eat? Because we talked about drought. What about like corn and soya? Well, the USDA, I've got a little summary of a report from the USDA crop loss summary and projections for 2020. Quote, in its survey-based August crop production report, the USDA estimates corn yield to be at 181.8 bushels per acre, up 9% from prior year levels. Which, by the way, Mike Morrison, bless you, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Which, by the way, is the record number of bushels. Okay, so hang with me here, okay? Up 9% from prior year levels, and soybean yield to be 53.3 bushels per acre, up 12% from 2019. For cotton, USDA estimates yields to be 938 pounds per acre, an increase of 14% from last year. Yield estimates will be updated in September reports, which is not out yet, or at least I can't find it, using the objective yield plots for production estimates for the first time this year. Yield updates are most likely coming, especially after the wicked windstorm that swept through much of the Midwestern Corn Belt. Crop damage is still being assessed as cleanup is underway. Regardless, record production levels with uncertainty in demand and export markets are likely to move all three commodity prices even lower. So right now, per the USDA, if you can believe their numbers, and that's a whole nother ball game, whole nother ball of wax. If you can believe their numbers, the crop yields are up. Their record numbers up for cotton, soybeans, and corn. Again, I'm not an expert in this. Yamasa Ama Ranch, Yamasa Ama Ventures, there's a guy that knows what he's talking about when it comes to this stuff. And he does not trust the FDA. He does not trust their numbers. And he's been pointing to for months methodologies that are lackluster at best, nefarious at worst, with the ways that they are quantifying their yields right now. And I think that the reason that that could be happening is to artificially keep prices low right now to not induce panic. So take all of that with a grain of salt, because again, I'm not the expert here, okay? I'm not the expert here. However, yeah, hay crops are way up, Cindy Atkinson. That's another great point. Here in eastern Oklahoma, what we like to call Arklatexa homus, hay crop is way up. I know people that are on their 4th or 5th cutting right now. Praise the Father. Now, hopefully, I mean, literally praise the Father. Hopefully this creates the opportunity for us that even with dwindling purchasing power of the US dollar, remember the purchasing power of the dollar is down 10% since COVID started, we can still continue to get our hands on relatively cheap food. And I recommend strongly that you do get your hand on cheap food, because just like James just said, yeah, the grand solar minimum is coming into full effect. Stack that food to the rafters, y'all. If you don't know what to stack, the Prepper Classroom playlist here on this channel, highly recommended. It's completely for free. Completely for free, okay? And just check it out. We talk all about what to stack, how to stack it, what to do, what food goes where, yada, 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 yada. And then getting into these wildfires, the natural aspect. I've killed all the other, not all of the other, there's 3 roosters remaining on property. And the more that I kill, the more mouthy that one gets. And I'm out of paintballs, which means I've got slightly less than lethal force and lethal force for these here chickens. The lethal force is what's really going through my mind. That's it. He asked for it. What shall we use? Maybe we'll use the pink BB gun. My daughter's pink BB gun. Stand by. Men, arm yourselves. Better run, boy. Oh gosh. Crafty devil. He ran behind the propane tank. We have 4 direct hits. However, this gun has like, I think it goes at 34 feet per second. It's below the speed of smell. Run away, boy. All the people who are like, that's so cruel to your animals. Just come get some. That's all I can say. Just come get some. Miss Liz, what do you think? You think we murder that rooster? What do you think? Yeah, that one right there. Yeah? He's being loud. Yeah? Which chickens is he trying to kill? Which, that white rooster? What? Oh yeah, that's a rooster. That one needs to die anyway. That's fine. If he's saving me work, that's okay. But he's being loud about it. One more. On the run. Good. Be quiet, homie. All right. Back to the freaking report. Wildfires. Yeah, everybody who's into the animal cruelty right now, this gun, please understand I'm surrounded by real guns. The fact that he's getting gently tapped with a BB as compared to having his brains thrown into my driveway by a hollow point right now, he ought to be thankful, as should everybody else. Moving right along. The natural aspect of the sheer scope of wildfires on the West Coast is in question after discoveries of arson. Indeed, massive amounts of evidence of coordination, planning, and funding to light the West Coast on fire. Why? Hegelian dialectic. We talked about this. Because when you create the problem, you can control the solution. Really, dude? I need more paintballs. Let's get into this wildfire safety report that we've got here. Where did that go? This is from the Hartford, which is an insurance company. Which, do we trust insurance companies? No. Raise your hand if you've had your stuff burnt to the ground. Oh, I thought that extra $1 million rider covered losses greater than what my policy covers. Well, it does, unless it's by fire or flooding. Oh, so if a gorilla runs through here with a sledgehammer and breaks all my stuff, that's cool. But oh, if you have a fire, no, that $1 million rider doesn't cover it. Good news, you're only out $1.3 million. Perfect. From the Hartford, by the way, I would strongly suggest that if you have insurance, that you check with your insurance agent to find out what is actually covered in your policies. Yes, this is boring and a pain in the ass, but believe me, raise your hand if you've had companies lose over $1 million due to catastrophic fire. It's worth it. If it costs you a day of your time, it's worth it. Now, in 2016, over 67,000 wildfires were reported across the United States. In total, wildfires destroyed over 4,000 structures. 3,000 of the structures destroyed were residential. As commercial and personal real estate development expands into forests and grasslands, the odds of wildfire-related property damage goes up. You can't fight back a wildfire that is encroaching on your home or business. However, you can take steps to protect it and evacuate when necessary. So this also, of course, means, do you have bug out indicators? Do you have a bug out plan? Do you have a bug out bag? Do you know where you're going, who you're going with? Do you have a checklist of all the things that actually need to be in the truck, in the car, in the minivan, on the back of the wagon being pulled by the mule? Do you have contact information for everybody? Is your commo charged up? Are you good to go, man? Before a wildfire, secure your property for a wildfire. One of the first steps you can take to defend against the wildfire is limiting the fuel sources around your home or business. Within 30 foot of your home, clear combustible materials such as dried leaves and pine needles and gas cans and timber and lumber laying around, so forth and so on. Cut down any tree limbs that are 15 feet or closer to the ground. This will help prevent the fire from spreading into your property's tree line. Remove any vines or vegetation that is on the side of your house or business. Place any flammable lawn furniture in storage when not in use. I gotta admit, I didn't think about the flammable lawn furniture. Thank you, Hartford. Opt for non-flammable decor, such as gravel, as opposed to wood chips. All right, y'all, get your decor squared away. Within 100 foot of your house, create fuel breaks in your property. Hopefully these areas will help stop the spread of fire. These can be gravel pathways or driveways. Cut any tree branches that are 8 feet or closer to the ground and clear combustible vegetation. Within 200 foot, place any stacked firewood or scrap wood. Continue to clear combustible vegetation. Plant trees far enough apart that their branches do not touch. Well, that's cute, but I mean, welcome to the homestead. But certainly, yeah, you can limb up and trim up. And another reason to keep firewood not necessarily right up on top of your house is insects, including termites. You don't want termites moving into your house when they decide that the wood pile is not their cool place where they want to be anymore. If possible, use Class A roofing material. This includes tile, slate, or asphalt. You can also use Class B pressure-treated shingles or shakes. Make sure that you have smoke alarms near every bedroom or office and in each zone of your home or business. Test smoke alarms monthly and change the batteries and blah, 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 blah. Outside of your home, make sure you have enough garden hose available to reach any part of your property. Designate water sources and make sure that the fire department can access them if needed to. That's actually really important. Water sources are areas such as swimming pools, ponds, lakes, wells, and fire hydrants. Create an emergency escape plan. You think? Speak to town officials to learn what the evacuation route is for your area, or just make one yourself. Discuss this evacuation route with everyone in your family and your employees. Ensure family members who live nearby know the route and have a means of transportation. Also stay informed by signing up for emergency blah blah blah. No, don't do that crap. Don't forget to create an emergency kit. Yeah, I think we're all there now. But just to be clear, if you have 97 rifles and no fire extinguishers, you're playing this game wrong. Okay? Okay, cool. During a wildfire, I see a minivan sneaking onto my property. During a wildfire, prepare to evacuate. Listen to emergency channels to know the status of the fire. Saturn Zeus. No, I will not be coming to Miami to train anybody, although I appreciate you very much. We're essentially staying in between the Rockies and the Appalachian Mountains as of right now. Maybe in 2021, if we do some law enforcement training down there, we may slot in some civilian classes, but 0% trainings happening in Miami right now. Thank you very much, though. Prepare to evacuate. Listen to emergency channels, know the status of the fire. Put emergency supplies and must-have items in your car so you can quickly evacuate. Evacuate immediately if told to do so. This is one of the things that people miss. Well, when the world ends, I'm just going to bug out. Can you? Do you know where all your stuff is? Do you even know what to put in your car? For real. For real. Just do it, okay? Make a list. One of the ways that we dealt with this in the suburbs was I had a small 5x7 trailer in the garage, preloaded with everything we needed to bug out. And when it was time to bug out, and we practiced this several times, I would raise the garage door, back my wife's car up to the trailer, and I would attach the trailer to her car while she put the kids in the car. We had 4 bags that were go bags that would get thrown in the back of the car, and then we would pull away. This takes anywhere between 2 and 5 minutes, depending on the state of the toddler at the time, okay? So if you had to leave right now, what would you take? That should already be sorted out. Also, and I cannot stress this enough, you should have copies of all your important documents. I know what it's like to need to get a driver's license, but you don't have a social security card, and you can't get a social security card without a driver's license. That's just basic. It took half a year to square that away. Deeds and birth certificates, death certificates, marriage licenses, all that stuff should be, at least in duplicate, if not in triplicate, in several different locations. You have to have copies of your documents, to the point where I actually have copies of my documents in my rucksack as well, okay? So that if I have to, I can prove who I am and that I have access to this property and that I'm supposed to be here. And yes, I live over there. Many times when checkpoints are set up, and not because DHS is trying to take over the world with those Chinese troops in Canada, bro, but just by the local law enforcement or local emergency services, when they set up a checkpoint, you're not getting through that checkpoint unless you're local. Well, if you can't prove you're local, guess what? You're not getting through that checkpoint. So, definitely have copies of your stuff. Moving right along. So if there's a wildfire right now, move furniture to the center of the rooms, take down the drapes and curtains to prevent combustion, close all windows and doors to prevent drafts and reduce heat, shut off your natural gas from its source, and turn on all lights on your property so that firefighters can more easily see it through smoke. Evacuate safely. Remain calm while evacuating. If you're driving, roll up your windows and close the air vents. The smoke from the fire can get into your car, irritate your eyes, and cause breathing problems. Also, turn your headlights on and keep your doors unlocked. In the event that something happens to you while driving, locked doors can slow your rescue. And return only when it's safe, and document the damage immediately upon your return. Documenting damage is really important. All right, so that's our fire, Antifa, drought, disaster, the whole 9. So if you got your ass burnt up by wildfire, we've legitimately got a kit for that. The Baja kit, the crash kit, and the smash kit all have burn care in them. What about EMP? You are stuck where you are then. I am going to be compassionate with my answer. When you have a year's worth of food at a minimum, and a rifle and a pistol, and you can hit with both of them, and all your commo is squared away, and you have a large, robust group of people working together in unison, and you are completely squared away as best as you can be to your broken ability with your walk with the Most High, and you have livestock going and agriculture going, and you're canning food and storing food, and you've got all these other things handled, then worry about what you're going to do with an EMP. Let me rephrase, there were 67,000 wildfires last year and 0 EMPs, okay? So I'm being completely polite here. What about an EMP? Stay your ass home and do what you got to do at that point. But until you have everything else figured out, don't use that as an excuse. People are preparing for the really big one and missing all the little things that can go wrong. You know how many people I know who have had to tap into their food storage because somebody they love or themselves has gotten sick, injured, or fired? So we talk about food storage as a cushion, and it is, but it's not just a cushion for when the globalists come and enact world tyranny and harvest all of our kidneys for adrenochrome. You could break your leg or get fired from your job. Okay? And you know what? Being able to eat the food that you have on the shelf, your food insurance, is incredibly valuable. And so don't miss the little stuff, the likely stuff, for the big and unlikely stuff. Okay? What about an EMP? You worry about an EMP when you got everything else checked off the list. Okay? Now, thanks for destroying my segue into discussing our first aid kits. Listen, right now, you got a few more days left. We are training this Sunday in Texas, in North Texas. There are 8 slots left. If you would like to be there, I will be there. You can use your health savings account and flexible spending accounts. I would love it if you'd come see us and get some actual training on how to use one of these, not just watching videos on the internet, although that's helpful, but it's not training. So highly recommended that you please do come see us. We will be there in North Texas, Sherman, Texas, this Sunday. We got a morning class and an afternoon class. The morning class is already sold out, and there's 8 slots left in the afternoon class. There's only 2 slots left on the Tulsa class that's coming up. And then we're going to think long and hard about posting some more civilian classes. We have a lot going on with the law enforcement side of training. Praise the Father. So civilian classes, your opportunity is this Sunday in North Texas. So please come join us. And you can use your health savings account and your flexible spending account if you would like to pay for those classes, because you do receive a TCCC training kit with the class. The whole idea here is to provide you with a kit that you can train up with and then take home and train others with force multiplication. And you don't have to destroy your perfectly assembled, ready to roll Bearfac in order to make it through the training. When you leave the training, you have an intact Bearfac, and you've just plowed your TCCC trainer kit. Then you take that trainer kit home and train everybody else with it. I'm sorry, your comments are distracting me. I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm just seeing all these comments go by. Do I ever do any training up near Canada? No, not currently. We might do one in North Dakota, but we don't know yet. So we'll see. Working on putting something like that together. So anyway, in addition to all that training this weekend, you guys know the deal. This is the bare minimum. Go through it super quick. Handmade, made in America, guaranteed forever. Comes in multicam, black, gray, red with reflective striping, marpat, woodland, OD green, and coyote tan. So all the cool guy colors. And look at the stitching. Handmade, made in America, guaranteed forever. It's about this big. Okay, you pop this top like so. You get your combat gauze right here in the top. That combat gauze is available as an additional at checkout. You can also put a SWAT tee up here, Celox granules, whatever floats your boat. Another cat tourniquet you can put up there, whatever you'd like to. In this one, we have combat gauze as an additional. Grab the red tab, yank, the kit comes out. Now you're holding a purpose-built gunshot wound kit in your hands. That's what it's for, okay? You can hang this on a peg, you can whatever. You got it in your hands out where you can use it. Pop that open. You've got your 1-inch surgical tape here. It's retained with Velcro, so it's in there, right? But if you got to get it out, it pops out as well, which I think is a cool little feature. Because otherwise, when you take this open, the surgical tape just goes rolling across the ground, and you're like, damn it, I needed that tape. It's over there now. Well, this keeps it in there. Good morning, honey. So you got your surgical tape in there. You've got a 6-inch North American Rescue emergency trauma dressing, 14 gauge decompression needle. I need to order 2 IFAKs and the med kit. Well, come on with it, sister. Decompression needle, Gen 7 cat tourniquet, nitrile gloves, and then down here in the bottom, you have your 7¼ inch North American Rescue trauma shears, EMT shears with the cutout for the O2 bottle in them. Good high quality shears. Nasal pharyngeal airway with Surgilube. 2 5x9 gauze pads, big gauze right here. I like big gauze because if I need big gauze, I probably don't have time. If I need little gauze, I've got time. And I can always cut my big gauze into little gauze with my shears. And then not 1, but 2, not compact, but full-size high-fin chest seals as well, because you got 2 lungs and bullets tend to go through things, not into things. So that's what's in the bare minimum. It's, again, handmade, made in America, guaranteed forever. Retails for less than a lot of the Chinesian bullcrap that's being sold by other companies that are out there. Trauma pack! Gosh, all these, my medic! Oh, excuse me, I'm sneezing all of a sudden. And, man, there's a lot of these other companies out there that just, I've seen their MO, I see how they roll. I've done the costing on them, the cost analysis. They take their cost, they multiply it ×3, and that's what they sell it to you. We take our cost, handmade, made in America, guaranteed forever, multiply it ×1.5, feed a bunch of families who are Americans and veterans and who work with us to make these things by hand in America every day, and then sell it to you. So yeah, I have a much lower profit margin, and I'm doing that so that y'all can get a good price on these things, not because I want to buy my 5th yacht and go hang out with Bezos. Okay, cool. And of course, again, all of that is HSA and FSA eligible, including training, which your last current opportunities that are on the calendar are 2 slots left in Tulsa and 8 slots left in Texas, and Texas is this Sunday. So, get some. Now, the Atlantic has experienced a huge number of tropical storms this year, with a record-breaking number of landfalls. From 27 May through 9 October, 10 of the storms or hurricanes made landfall in the United States. The power grid has failed or been unreliable for many hundreds of thousands, and many have seen severe wind and flood damage to their homes, businesses, and farms. As rolling blackouts were instituted in California to keep pace with the surging energy demands amid intense heat waves this year, a huge number of households have been forced to deal with a lack of power in this particularly vulnerable time. Several deaths have already been linked to the heat wave, which sent temperatures spiking to a record 126 degrees in Death Valley. Even now, Southern California is bracing for yet again another heat wave. Overall, the majority of states have experienced grid failures, flooding, wildfire, and/or record heat, in addition to civil unrest in select areas, and the loss of jobs and income due to government restriction. These issues are stacking up, compounding stresses on individuals, families, and systems. Many that can move away from particularly difficult areas have done so, or are doing so. Come out of her, my people, lest you partake of her sins and receive of her plagues, creating shifts in population distribution and subsequently economies. The complete effects of these chain reactions will likely not be realized for years. People are bugging out. They're leaving because things are getting weird pretty much everywhere, and people are realizing, doubly bless you, people are realizing that, hey, it is just simply not sustainable for me to stay where I am. Not enough resources, too many people competing for those limited resources. Remember, what is war at its most basic level? It is a game of resources. So, remember that a grid down scenario, as hundreds of thousands of people have been forced to deal with so far this year, remember that a grid down scenario is your ultimate disruptive threat and should absolutely be calculated into your area studies, and should be a massive part of your planning for SHTF, whether that is to have redundant electrical systems, solar or wind or hydro or geothermal, whatever you got. If your goal is to be redundant of the system, cool, start working on that. If your goal is to be independent of the system, to where, yes, we have an electric coffee grinder, but we also have a hand mill for grinding coffee, and we have ways to boil water on the grid and boil water off the grid, and so forth and so on, right? Where you're dependent, or your life is not dependent upon the functioning of the grid. See, disruptive threat is the type of thing that creates regular and irregular threats. People in uniforms and people outside of uniforms who are enacting their will or attempting to enact their will upon you. So grid down is the number one thing that's going to cause those. I gotta quit looking at the chat. What the hell are y'all talking about over here? Grid down is the number one thing that's going to cause that for the majority of Americans. Medical hospitals don't run, or they run on a very limited basis. Commo, there is none. Yes, most places have backup generators, but for how long? Kits for chainsaw mishaps. There's a chainsaw kit at adventurefrontier.com. You can also get the Cub kit on bearindependent.com. Fuel doesn't move. Refrigeration stops working. That's one of the biggest things with grid down, is that refrigeration stops working. Zach, bless you, Zach. Thank you. Not only can people not stay hot or cool, but food cannot stay hot or cool. That's a major problem. So food spoilage, transportation, no fuel being pumped, no vehicles being moved, logistics shut down. Like I said, no medicine, no vehicles moving, like trucks, personal vehicles, airplanes, all that stuff. The logistics just starts to fall apart. So grid down scenario is a bad deal. Emergency medical services fail to work, fail to perform. And in some cases, it's because they cannot ensure the safety of the people enacting those services, because commo doesn't work, or they don't have the fuel to run the vehicles, or whatever. Or in a lot of cases, hard curfews are in place as well. So Grid down is your #1 disruptive threat. You should definitely be prepared for it. I have a little bit of a checklist here somewhere. Let's see, where did this come from? Let's all laugh at what Ready.gov tells us to do for power outages. Is everybody good? Everybody ready? Cool. Well, they have some good stuff in here too. I think we just need to add to it. Extended power outages may impact the whole community and the economy. It's a whole nother thing to think about. A power outage is when the electrical power goes out unexpectedly. A power outage may disrupt communications, water, and transportation, and sewage as well, water treatment plants. Don't forget that. Close retail businesses, grocery stores, gas stations, ATMs, banks, and other services. Correct. You can't get the things that you need to get that you should have had in the first place, which is why we are prepared in the first place. So having food, having fuel, having cash or other currencies on hand. Cause food spoilage and water contamination. This is where backup generation comes into play. How do you run your refrigeration so you don't lose freezers full of food? And prevent the use of medical devices. This is a big deal. A lot of people have CPAP machines. A lot of people have oxygen compressors because they're on oxygen. A lot of people cannot live without insulin, and they need that stuff refrigerated. Backup generation. And then you really got to ask yourself again, what length of time are we talking about? Are we talking about, 2 weeks from a bad ice storm or an EMP, man? Well, remember, start with the ice storm because that's much more likely to happen, historically speaking. And then work your way out from there. During a power outage, keep freezers and refrigerators closed. Only use generators outdoors and away from windows because, remember, CO2, carbon monoxide, kills people. Do not use a gas stove to heat your home. Disconnect appliances and electronics to avoid damage from electrical surges. That's a real thing. My dad had half of the electronics in his house blown up after an ice storm because of an unbalanced load, because the neutral was lost, and so he had 70 volts on one side, one leg, and 170 volts on the other leg, rather than 120 on each leg. And we had the same thing happen here during a big storm. The top of a tree got knocked through the power line. It broke the strand that the cables were running on, meaning that the ground wire was now no longer grounded, which means that we had an unbalanced load. The neutral wire was no longer grounded, meaning we had an unbalanced load. So we had had a big air conditioner blow up, had light bulbs popping and exploding out of the ceiling, fans getting blown up on one side of the house, and everything dim on the other side of the house. So being able to throw your main shutoff to disconnect from the grid, which is required anyway if you have backup generation like solar or wind, you need to disconnect from the grid so you're not backfeeding the grid for the safety of the utility workers working on those grid lines. But also you don't want to be tied to those grid lines that could have all kinds of funky stuff going on, blowing up the stuff inside of your house anyway. Have alternative plans for refrigerating medicines or using power-dependent medical devices. If safe, go to an alternate location for heating or cooling and check on your neighbors. Those are good points. Take an inventory of the items you need that rely on electricity. I like that. Talk to your medical provider about a power outage plan for medical devices, yada, yada. Have some spare meds around. Plan for batteries and other alternatives to meet your needs when the power goes out. Yup. Sign up for alerts, blah, whatever. Install carbon monoxide detectors with a battery backup in central locations on every level of your home. Yeah, you should have those anyway. Determine whether your home phone will work in a power outage and how long battery backup will last. It may not, and for not very long. And who has a home phone nowadays anyway? Review supplies that are available in case of a power outage. Have flashlights with extra batteries for every household member and enough non-perishable food and water. You think? How much is enough? In the Prepper Classroom, we cover all that stuff. It's for free here on YouTube. YouTube playlist at this channel, the Prepper Classroom. Use a thermometer in the refrigerator and freezer so that you can know the temperature when the power is restored. Throw out food if the temperature is 40 degrees or higher. Keep mobile phones and other electric equipment charged and gas tanks full. Yeah, that's just the way we roll. It's the way I roll. My wife, on the other hand, is like, I have no gas and my phone's about to die. And I'm like, okay, let's fix that every day. Every day. Every day. You are the whole reason I store as much fuel as I do. Because my trucks never get below half. Or if they do, the next place they go is the gas station. Shada-ba-ba-da-ba-da. Keep freezers and refrigerators closed. The refrigerator will keep food cold for about 4 hours. A full freezer will keep the temperature about 48 hours. Use coolers with ice if necessary. Maintain food supplies that do not require refrigeration. Avoid carbon monoxide poisoning. Generators, camp stoves, charcoal grills should always be used outdoors, at least 20 feet away from windows. Never use a gas stovetop or oven to heat your home. Check on your neighbors. Go to a community location with power if heat or cold is extreme, or one might add, build a community location with all your friends and loved ones in the middle of nowhere so you can deal with cold and extreme heat. And turn off or disconnect appliances, equipment, or electronics. Power may return with momentary surges or spikes that can cause damage. And that's the end of that. That was so useful. Thank you so much, Ready.gov. Couldn't have done it without you. You're the best. Tremendous. Believe it. All right. Now, if you're trying to survive the freaking apocalypse and you're unaware of adventurefrontier.com, you're doing life wrong. That's okay. The good news for you is you are now aware of adventurefrontier.com. Adventure Frontier is where we get our armor, our IFAKs, and our fluffy bunnies. Why fluffy bunnies? Because everybody needs a fluffy bunny. That's why. So, armor, check. IFAKs, check. Fluffy bunnies, check. Also, on the Adventure Frontier tip, this right here was for a patron on Patreon that was given ample time to respond to having their name drawn. It's not been drawn, so for those who are wondering, that is a $900 plate carrier IFAK plates and trauma pads combo that was in large part supplied by AdventureFrontier.com, our bros that we love so much, who have all the Spartan armor things. And so that's an HRT HRAC carrier with the placard and the cummerbund and the zip-on day pack on the back, and it's got level 3+ plates in it from Spartan Armor, anti-spall coating, as well as the trauma pads from AdventureFrontier.com. And it's got a bare minimum blowout kit hanging on it right there as well, all in fashionable tactical multicam. And because said winner did not claim his prize, rather than draw another winner, we're going to roll that into the next Patreon giveaway. And I'm going to be adding a Mac 4 to that giveaway as well. So we're going to pile on top of this already $900 value, about another $1,000 in value for a Mac 4 bag. For those who don't know, literally we don't even have them in the stores yet. We have thus far only provided them to agencies and organizations, predominantly law enforcement, but some emergency response as well. The Mac 4 is a mass casualty kit, MAC, M-A-C-K, mass casualty kit. The Mac 4 is, we do a lot of these for sheriff's departments because, and like highway patrol, state troopers, because they are out in the middle of nowhere, oftentimes by themselves. And it's designed to treat 4 to 8 casualties. It's a giant IFAK in a backpack designed to treat 4 to 8 casualties. And I'm just happy to announce that ours is only $800 less. Only $800 less than the one that you can get from Trauma Pack, and it has the exact same capabilities. So it's only $800 less than the one that Trauma Pack is so proud of, and it has the exact same freaking capabilities. So the Mac 4 will be adding a Mac 4 to this as well. It's only $800 less, that's all. I could just charge the same amount that they do and put an extra $800 in my pocket, but I don't do that because I love y'all and I believe in honesty and integrity, which is why I really do enjoy it when you support us in the doing of what we do. So The Mac 4, we'll put a Mac 4 with that for Patreon. Your Mac 4 price. Email us, sales@bearindependent.com. Sales@bearindependent.com. I'll get Forrest to touch base with you. So, yeah. So rather than pick another, we're just going to roll over on Patreon. So if you're not a $5 or up patron, then I highly recommend that you be one, because we'll be giving away to one person close to $2,000 worth of gear. So, sales@bearindependent.com right there. Go to Patreon, $5 and up patrons. You'll see a sign-up post in the very near future. All right, what else we got to talk about here? AdventureFrontier.com. I already told you guys about AdventureFrontier.com. If you got to buy prepper stuff, at least start by looking there. They're our brothers and we love them. Now, DisasterCoffee.com. Your life might be a mess, but their coffee is not, okay? So at least you could get one thing squared away today, and that would be drinking good coffee. You know, everything else is kind of questionable. Have you called your mom recently? At least brush your teeth. At least just do it. Brush your teeth. Coffee is not for, whiskey is not for breakfast. Don't drink whiskey for breakfast. You probably don't want to be eating Rice Krispies either. That stuff's garbage. You could do one productive thing today, and that would be drinking disaster coffee. Your life might be a disaster, but your coffee doesn't need to be, okay? DisasterCoffee.com. Amendment, the number one preparedness. Amendment 1 preparedness. If you need prepper gear, they have the best camo on the face of the earth when it comes to prepper camo that I'm aware of. They're phenomenal. And small business, member of the Bear Nation, check them out. Amendment, the number one preparedness.com. And of course, the unofficial uniform of the Bear Nation, the Stay Humble and Kind shirt from Sanctified Supply Co. So if you need one more t-shirt, you should get it from sanctifiedsupplyco.com. All three of these people support Grindstone Ministries. Grindstone Ministries is our charitable organization. Grindstone Ministries right now has a huge raffle going on. So for anybody that's not on Patreon signed up to receive this plate carrier, there's a massive fundraiser going on with Grindstone Ministries right now. You can go to grindstoneministries.com. Huge, Hans, huge. Go check them out. Grindstoneministries.com. We have a huge prepper commo kit from Amendment 1 Preparedness, a base station, a battery backup with 12 volt and 120 volt inverters, handheld radios, a level 3 plate carrier, and a level 3A ballistic helmet. So there's all your armor right there. A custom-made buffalo handle knife, 4 different Glock slides, a swag bag from Sanctified Supply Co., a bunch of bear swag, a bunch of different books that are in there, a bear engraved tomahawk from adventurefrontier.com. By the way, we got to talk to Karen about those, honey. Just remind me, we got to talk to Karen about tomahawks. I don't even remember everything else that's on the table. Oh, Hero Soap, Disaster Coffee. There's just tons of stuff. It's all in a video at grindstoneministries.com. It costs you $5 as a raffle ticket to enter to win. You can enter as many times as you would like. You can buy as many tickets as you like. And not Tomahawk Steaks Badger. Although maybe we should do a bear fundraiser. Y'all want to come to Northwest Arkansas for a super expensive dinner with Bear to raise money for Grindstone? Anybody? Super expensive. Yes, 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 yes. Okay, cool. I'll be in Tulsa for the class. Roger that. I don't know how super expensive yet. I don't know. All right. Well, I'll talk to my people about that. How much money can I take on a plane? Over $10,000, they get nervous. You can raffle your breakfast sausage. That's a good idea. So here's the deal. Grindstone Ministries is our charitable organization. We are the only ministry that I know of that provides construction and maintenance capabilities to organizations that rescue and rehabilitate victims of human trafficking and sex crimes. And so praise the Father. Why is this important? There are more and more victims being rescued, but the facilities to rehabilitate these victims don't exist, or if they do, they're underfunded and they're not working, they're not functional. And so what Grindstone does is partner with these ministries and get them up and running, because we need places to rehabilitate these kiddos, to train these children up in the way that they should go so that they do not depart from it when they are older, to introduce them to the Father through the Son, to fix them, to break this cycle of generational curses. That's what Grindstone does. No, that was my foot, William. That's what Grindstone does. And so we are very actively fundraising right now because we have some really big things to do in 2021. And so I would love it if you would prayerfully consider joining us in this. Now, everybody's favorite, silver linings. Quote, in a 140 square foot garden, I just harvested 51 pounds of potatoes and canned 14 quarts of pole beans. That's awesome. Not to mention the peppers, herbs, and lettuce. I live in a tiny 400 square foot apartment that has a small patch of lawn outside. I simply asked the landlord if I could grow some food. I was, to say the least, concerned about what was coming. He not only said yes, it turns out he's a homesteader himself and brought over his rototiller for me. My point is that I asked nicely, got a nice response, and have networked with someone who, with a simple act of kindness, made a positive difference in my life. Amen. That is absolutely awesome. Another says, the fight against tyranny is strong here in Southwest Virginia. My husband and I took our 2 boys to a local stock car racetrack. I'm happy to report that there were more than 250 in attendance, with no masks in sight, despite Governor Northam's tyrannical orders. We had a fantastic time without any pressures to conform to non-constitutional orders. Good. Another viewer says, I just paid off the last bit of my personal debt. Had to catch up with bank and been approved to buy first home. We already live on a small town, but looking to get property with land. Just wanted to say thank you to you all for the knowledge and support and for getting my wife on board. We both have a month's worth of food aside and preparing to increase it as time goes by. It's awesome. And lastly, quote, God has blessed my family. My friend saw a post for about 40 cases of expired freeze-dried survival food for free. He was the first to respond and has added a ton of extra calories to the rafters. And as always, still working as hard as I can, putting more and more infrastructure into my homestead. Bear Nation is my daily dose of strength, support, and inspiration to keep doing the things. Praise Yah. That's awesome. If y'all need to connect with one another on the Bear Nation, please check out the forum at bearindependent.com. There are multiple different ways that you can meet people, but that should be one of them. Forum at bearindependent.com. Now again, I told you we got that huge Grindstone raffle going on. Please keep us in prayer because we have some really big moves that Grindstone will be making in 2021. I cannot discuss them yet, but please keep Grindstone in prayer. Keep us in prayer. That we have the right funding, that we have the right people, that our mission is wholly grounded in service to the Most High, and that we will be capable of, that our asses will be capable of cashing the checks that our mouths are about to write through his provision and blessing. Let me just put it that way. Because I am very much so in the business of telling other people, don't worry about the how. The Father's in charge of the how. But I'm having to tell myself that sometimes hourly here lately. I'm not in charge of the how. He is. So, Todd Master Boney, good morning, brother. So please keep Grindstone in your prayers. Bear Camp needs more land. Please keep that in prayer as well. We need more land. And many of us are under a Nazarite vow right now. And so, if at times Bear seems cranky, please understand that that has meant that since midnight Sunday, no alcohol, no tobacco, and no conjugal visits. So, and there are many brothers amongst us who have all taken that vow for the next 30 days or so as a dedication unto the Father. And I know that there are brothers who are, well, see, you say that sucks, but here's the thing. Yeah, it does, but every time you have one of those urges, you just pray. You talk to the Father. And you realize real quickly who's in charge of provision and blessing. And also, who's in charge of provision and blessing, and also, what are you covering up with all of these things? What convictions, what emotions, what feelings are you washing in alcohol, in tobacco, in, in the flesh? So it's a month set aside unto the Father to point yourself back to him and his will, rather than external. Look at all this external influence that we put. It's about being internally influenced by him. And so, anyway, there's a lot of brothers that are going through that right now. So, keep us in prayer. We'd appreciate it. And with that, yeah, but at least you have coffee, right? Good thing it wasn't a no coffee vow. You'd never see me again, except maybe on the national news. Local man loses mind, goes crazy in the woods of Oklahoma. CIA FBI called in with black helicopters to address. The numbers are still coming in, Bob, but it appears to be 146 casualties have been inflicted, and he's running around wearing nothing but duct tape and a Marpat whoopee, screaming, "Coffee!" Let's talk to the Father. Good morning, Father Yah. Thank you for the opportunity to do this. Thank you for the Bear Nation, and for a beautiful morning and the sunrise, and for noisy meat everywhere. Father, thank you for brothers and sisters. Thank you for my team of people that you've sent, and thank you for the businesses and the ministry that you have entrusted to us. Father, I pray that you just continue to steward us, that you would absolutely be the hand of provision and blessing that we need you to be. Father, if there's anything within the sound of my voice that's not of you, I rebuke it in the name of Yeshua HaMashiach, command it to flee. I pray that you would keep us filled up with your Ruach HaKodesh, your Holy Spirit, for wisdom and discernment, for strength and power and authority, for healing, for love and compassion, and for peace that surpasses all understanding. Father, everybody within the sound of my voice, I just lift them up to you and ask you to build testimony through them today, to walk with them, to teach us how to live this life. I thank you for giving us a life and showing us how to lead it through Yeshua, and for creating a way for those of us who have just run headstrong away from you to return home again. Thank you for the opportunity to do this. I pray that you use it for your glory. I ask all these things in Yeshua's name. Amen. Go be the light bearer, nation. We got work to do. Apparently the world's going to end in like 3 weeks. And put your faith not in man. Call no man master but your Father in heaven. Shalom, y'all.